Thank you very much, Dr. Diep Tran, English teacher and storyteller and extremely generous person in sharing your wisdom. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, I'm very honoured. Thank you. All right, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to take up as much of your wisdom and knowledge as we possibly can. And so we've got the two stories that we're looking at, the two Vietnamese fairy tales. And as you say, no record of the history of these stories and when they're recorded, which is interesting in its own right. But so then we go from what we have received. Are you aware of, starting off with the First Mosquito, are you aware of any adaptations of the stories, any films or dances or anything?
So just from my experience, I first knew about the story, not from reading it, but from watching it on TV.
Okay.
So I think about 20 years ago, there was a series for children in Vietnam. It's a live action series of many popular fairy tales.
Oh, that sounds...
And there were quite a few episodes. And I remember as kids, we really were looking forward to that once every week on TV. Then I remember there was that episode with the mosquito story.
Okay.
The live action version of the mosquito story. So that was, that experience was how I first came to be aware of the story.
Interesting choice for children. Yeah, but that too. I wonder if it's on YouTube. I'll hunt that down.
It is on YouTube.
Okay. In Vietnamese.
And yeah, I can understand why you are surprised. Such a story is meant to be for children. But to be quite honest, many Vietnamese fairy tales, or I would say folk tales, have tragic endings, or they have problematic kind of details in it. And we looked into it, and over the years, there have been criticisms to that. And many parents or educators raise an issue whether those details or these stories should be taught to children at all.
Yeah, it's not so much,
yeah, it's still an ongoing debate.
Of course. It's not so much that it has a tragic ending that makes it unsuitable, because I think lots of well-adjusted children actually find sad endings quite fascinating. It's just that it's a horrible marriage. It's infidelity and abuse and exploitation and lying, and it's just okay. So, well, there's that. All right. Okay. So, can you think of any illustrations or artworks that have been created about the First Mosquito?
The mosquito?
Yeah.
I did do some research online. There was not much for the mosquito story.
Okay. And yet, again, there are visual things there. Is it connected with any particular festival or foods or anything of that nature?
No, not that particular story.
Okay. Can you see anything in the story that connects with religious meanings or spiritual understanding?
Like revival is very big in Vietnam, and I might venture to say that in at least Southeast Asian culture, to die and to come alive again is a big part of the culture. And I don't know, it's just my guess, but probably back in the day, people, especially women, they died young because of many reasons.
Yes.
Like childbirth and poor health care, whatever. So, because they die young, so people still kind of wanted them to live longer. Or, people felt sorry for them because their life was so short. So I think, maybe it's just something that our ancestors were yearning for. What if somebody could come alive again after they die very young?
Yeah, no, yes, I absolutely see that, and that is beautiful. How are you aware of the story Lady Whitesnake?
Um,
Chinese
I've
story.
I've heard of it, but I can't really remember off the top of my head. But
Okay,
yeah,
because I can see some resemblance there, but also bizarrely to a Grimm's fairy tale called Three
yeah,
Snake Leaves.
yeah.
Do you know that one?
I heard of it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll be interested. Have a look. Have a hunt down both. And actually, I'll send the information
yep,
to research
yeah.
both of those.
But
But they're intriguing,
yeah,
especially that a Grimm's German fairy tale
yeah,
would have this connection with
yes,
seems a very
yeah,
Asian tale. Yeah.
yes. So there are two things. I like just to go back to that point for a little bit. But
Mm,
if you look at some Asian tales, and I would say Asian in general,
yes.
um, the ability to live forever
Yeah.
and the ability to come alive again after death are
Yes.
two big parts of the fairy tales or of whatever tales that have to do with imagination.
Yes.
So that, like in Chinese tale, for example, there are so many stories that people drink a potion or eat something
Oh
and they will live
yeah.
forever.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there was a magic pill, and the cowherd. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. And they have the pill of eternity or eternal life. Yeah, it is intriguing because I suppose European stories have the
Mm-hmm.
same longing, but that's
Mm-hmm.
gone through Christianity. So the
All right.
eternal life will be in another form, or life
Yeah.
after death. But
Yes.
it's still the same yearning of the heart and the
Mm.
way that stories will express that. Okay. So with the mosquito, no, I'll leave that one. What do you think the main characters represent?
You mean the husband and the wife or just the
Yes.
wife?
Well, yeah.
I think they represent two different types
Mm,
of people. So the husband will represent like kindness, it represents honesty, true love,
okay.
and the wife in that particular story, she represents, unfaithfulness,
Yeah.
ungratefulness,
Yes. So she
and
is
yeah,
defined by what she's not.
sorry,
She is her character is
yeah,
built on what she is not, what she lacks. And
yeah,
she's the opposite side of him. So he
yes,
has all the loyalty and the
yeah,
generosity that she
yes,
completely lacks. He's unselfish, she's selfish. So
yeah,
all
yes,
goodness that he has is taken from her.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think in many Vietnamese tales,
yeah,
good and bad are
yeah,
not intertwined in any one person.
yes,
They
yes,
are very different. So some would be the protagonist and they will have all the good, and
yes,
the antagonist will be all bad,
yeah.
very bad.
Yeah. Which is why we have those sort of traditional stories, because they
Yeah,
can take it out, separate the complexity of
yeah,
reality and
yeah,
just those, polar differences to play with. Yeah. And therefore, with those differences, you've got the gift of life and the re-giving of it, so that it's being
yeah.
moved, almost like the tides being moved
Hmm.
by the moon. They're being pushed back
Yes,
and forth. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Do you think this is a teaching story, a wisdom story about a lesson, or would you see it as a coming of age story or a quest or anything?
It's a moral story,
Yeah.
I think. And I've never seen that story in any textbook. So yes, it is known. It is quite popular, I think,
Yeah.
but it's not considered a textbook story. They're like, yeah, I can tell my kids, or
Yeah.
you know, the teachers can sometimes tell the children that, or their students about it, but outside of the classroom,
Mm.
or it's well, people might think it's not textbook material because, you know, that's because of the tragic ending and all the
Yeah.
lies and the wife being unfaithful to the husband.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
It's yes.
yeah,
But on the
but
same way, I could see it. It is a good teaching story because he is so good. But then again, what does his goodness, like he's not rewarded for his goodness. He never gets what he actually wants.
yeah, yeah,
So, in contrast to a lot of certainly European stories where by the point is you start with little, with no family and no wealth, and you'll
yeah,
end up with
yeah,
wealth and the kingdom and the princess, and you get
yes,
what you desired. And this one,
yeah.
well, he actually loses everything.
Yeah,
Mm.
there are stories like that in Vietnam, you know, rag to riches.
Oh, good.
But, you know, there are also stories like this when it's
Yeah,
a moral story.
yeah,
And I think the biggest message is that you will be punished for, you know,
yes,
everything that you did to your husband.
yeah,
Or like the importance of being faithful
yeah.
in a marriage.
Okay, so if you're bad, things will get worse, and if you're good, things will get worse. But the worst of being bad is worse than the worst of being good.
Yes.
Yay! I'm so happy. Okay. So who do you think has the power, and does that power shift in the story?
I think, yeah, it was a power shift
Yeah.
because when, um, you know, when the husband sacrificed, when he made the sacrifice, the 3 drops of blood, he had the power there, the power to, you know, revive his wife,
Okay.
to bring her back to life.
Yes. Okay.
And I think, you know, the wife continued to stay with him because might be at that point she knew she owed her life to him. So
Yes.
he could have had a power before another man appeared. But you know, that was the um yeah, he might not recognize that he had power over her, but I think, you know, in a relationship and
Yeah.
realistically it happens.
Okay. Okay.
But then the other man appeared and oh sorry,
No,
I'll
no.
just so he had the money, he had many things to offer her, to promise her a better life for her. So he had more power over her at that point,
Yeah.
more influence on her.
Yeah.
And then she ran away.
But you're intriguing me there because I'm seeing it as the power of life and love and versus the power of wealth. And the wealth
Yes.
has so much power, but it's not quite as much as his
Mm.
power over life. That was
Yeah.
the ultimate
Yeah.
triumph. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
Mm.
yeah, but and then because she ran away and the husband was left alone and now he lost his power. Now the ex-wife had the power.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he chased her to ask for his blood back.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So,
Yes.
um, if I had found 3 drops of blood in a European story, like the Goose Girl, it's got a strong religious association there.
Mhm.
What would do you have a connection to the notion of 3 drops of blood? Like why 3 rather than 2 or 4 or 5?
That's a very interesting question. And the answer is I don't know.
More to be discovered. Okay, let's
But
guess what.
um but I think just my guess is the origin is from the Chinese culture,
Right,
which had a great influence on the Vietnamese culture.
and all
I
3.
get it. And not many Vietnamese people like to hear this, but that's the true fact.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they had 1,000 year of dominance. So
exactly.
yeah, of course, most of our culture had was influenced by the Chinese culture. And in the Chinese culture, number 3
Yes.
is very important.
Is
If
it?
you look at their altar, for example, there are three guys there, and then because there's something about number 3. I haven't read much about it,
Yeah.
but I also know number 4 or number 8 have,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
a lot of meaning. That means a lot to them. But
Yeah.
for number 4 and 8, I know why. But for number 3, I need I need to do more research.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
All right. That's
yeah.
good. All right. Is it common for women to be the villains in Vietnamese stories?
All right, that's my favorite question.
Rise to it, Zed.
Right. It is not common,
Okay.
but it is not uncommon either.
Okay.
So in Vietnamese folk tales, we have a lot, and there are stories in which women are the villains.
Yes.
There are stories in which women are heroes. They save the whole village. They save the country. They sacrifice their life to become a flower or a tree, whatever.
Yeah.
And but also there are stories in which women did nothing,
Yeah.
in which they became kind of they was objectified
Yes.
as something that their parents give away.
Yes. Yeah.
In exchange for something.
Yeah.
Like a princess was given away for a piece of land,
Yeah.
for example. Or yeah, so in there are stories like that. So I wouldn't say women as villain
Okay.
is a common feature of Vietnamese folk tales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
They play many different roles.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad. Okay. Now, I'll go on with this. So, can you see this story as having particular meaning to people who are on the outside of society, or like people with disability, or something of that nature?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's a story about being in a marriage and what it's like to be like you need to be faithful to your partner.
Yes. Yeah. So is this a story about love, or is it about hope, or luck, or cleverness? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Of hope. Yes, like there are stories about, people who were born with disability and then they became rich and they helped other people.
Yeah.
Cleverness is also a big part of folk tales. You might not have heard about this, but we have many stories about cleverness.
Do you think
And
this is one of them?
sorry?
Do you think this is one of them? Because I actually think
No.
the story has a great ending of getting back the 3 drops of blood and
Yes.
continuing the search for. It's a great finishing point to a story, which makes it a good one to tell, I think.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, when you say cleverness, I was thinking about like a character who's really clever, like somebody who has very clever solutions to things. And we do have some certain characters in the folk tales. There's a series of stories about one particular character who is really, really smart.
Who's that?
That character is called Trạng Quỳnh. Okay, I can type in the chat for you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, somebody who's very, very smart. There's so many stories about him.
Yeah.
But so sad to say that all the characters that that are related to cleverness are male.
Oh, we've got to do something about that, because this is when we go back to who has collected the stories. Because I would hope that somewhere in the history of Vietnam, there have been women, sitting around who have been telling and creating stories about clever women.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it's all about men. And I remember at one point, Roger and I, we told a story. Did you hear that? The tandem performance about the fly, not mosquito, but the fly.
No, I don't.
Yeah, but
Okay, go.
so Roger really liked that Vietnamese story.
Yes.
And it's about a very clever boy who tricked a landowner, a rich and mean landowner.
Yeah.
And he told me, how about we turn this character into a little girl?
Yes.
And said, yes, go ahead, do it. And then we had a tandem performance. I played the role of the little girl.
Yeah.
And then Roger was the very rich and mean landowner.
Oh, he'd be great at that.
Yeah. But it's a very interesting point that he noticed as an outsider,
Yes.
that why is a clever person always a boy or a man?
Yes. Yeah. That was then and this is now. Stories are growing and we are the ones to help them grow. Don't stop. Okay, now, this is the ones that I'm getting interested in about, do you think this story has a happy ending?
No, I don't think this story has a happy ending because it wasn't happy for anyone.
I would agree. But then,
Yes.
like in European fairy tales, the vast majority finish happily ever after. And only, according to my research at this point, and I could be wrong here, but it's only the literary fairy tales, like ones written by Hans Christian Andersen, that tend to have the sad endings. And yet, with this story and with the Moon Boy, they both have the sad ending where they're trapped. So is this a feature of Vietnamese stories?
I think half and half. There are stories with happy endings, and there are stories with sad endings, and there are stories with happy endings for the protagonist and very sad endings for the antagonist.
Oh yeah, as there should be. Yeah.
So I think,
Okay.
You want to hear my guess?
Go for it.
My guess is for European fairy tales, for example, when it passed on through many generations, and maybe people realize the impacts of happy endings, or they notice that people like happy endings more. So those stories were kind of rewritten over the years to become the versions that we have today, and then most of them have happy endings.
So why should the same thing happen in Vietnam?
I think in Vietnam, the Vietnamese society was very different. If you think about 12, 13, 14 centuries, like those stories might have been started a long time ago. But all those years, we didn't have writing. And no, we had writing, but I mean, it changed over the years. And if you look at the history of our country, we were constantly invaded, constantly dominated, so many wars over the years, and everything just officially stopped for us 80 years ago. It wasn't that long. So over the years, like people always had to face with misery, losses, and tragedy. I think maybe that's why they like to tell the story as they would. And they didn't really care about changing the ending, or they didn't even know how to change the ending because they had no idea what kind of ending they really wanted.
So okay. So is that part, would you say then that Vietnamese people and culture and art forms tend to be tragic?
Well, it's a very big claim to make. So I'm going to be really cautious here. but in general, we are an optimistic country. We are optimistic people. If you have met Vietnamese people,
yes, of course. Yeah, that's what I was.
but like you mean the people who survived all that, they must be like optimistic. So I would say there are many tragedies in the history.
Yes.
And people are aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they look at the tragedy with an optimistic mindset. Was that a safe way to talk about it?
Yeah. Okay. It's yes, the world is miserable, but you know, it could have been worse. Okay, great.
Yeah, but collectively, I wouldn't say Vietnam is a tragic, sad country.
Yeah, no.
It's people are quite bubbly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are heaps of Australian people with Vietnamese heritage, and I haven't noticed them weeping on street corners or
yeah,
that nature. So, you know, okay, this is good. Wind it back and give me a background, please, about Vietnamese literature and how the stories evolved and got written down, and what sort of stories tend to have been the lasting ones, the classics in Vietnam.
All right. So up until now, we still tell the stories that are believed to, you know, to have been told like more than 4,000 years ago.
Okay.
The stories of how, of our ancestors, the most distant ancestors, and how the country came to being, then we are still telling those stories these days. And it dated back like more than 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And you know, I actually told some stories about that, the story set in that particular time period. The Hung King, you might have heard about the Hung King, the very first kings of Vietnam. But back in the day, it wasn't called Vietnam, but I'll type in the chat for you.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
So yeah, but I mean those stories was mainly words of mouth.
Yes.
And there was one point we had the spoken language.
Yes.
As a country, but then under the Chinese dominance, so everybody had to learn Chinese character.
Yeah. So when was that?
It was, I think, not exactly, but the 3rd century.
Okay.
The 3rd century.
Right.
Yeah. And for 10th century, that's all the way until like the 13th century. But the interesting thing is, of course, Vietnamese people at that time, we had to learn Chinese characters and learn to read and write in Chinese. Yes. But we kept our spoken language.
Okay.
So that might be new to you, but we kept a spoken language. I don't know how they did it, but for so many years, they kept the spoken language. And at some point, there's some people who adjust the Chinese characters to represent the Vietnamese spoken language. So we have our own set of characters based on the Chinese alphabet. And then we used it for a long time. I think ever since then, you know, our ancestors started to document stories.
So about when did you start having what could be called a Vietnamese literature that's written down? About when was that happening?
I would say before the 10th century.
Okay.
Not exactly, but we had it before the 10th century.
Yes, yeah. So are there Vietnamese novels from that long ago?
The true Vietnamese novels, I mean the novels in the sense of novels that we think about it today, No, not that long ago, 19th century.
Right, okay. So that,
But
I guess that's influenced from trade from other nations, I'm guessing.
yes.
Yeah.
And the kind of French novel.
Yes, yes.
I'll say
Oh, of course.
the French novel,
Of
like it
course.
started. But the
Yeah.
very big piece of literature, back in the day, I think it was from the 14th to the 16th century. It was a very big piece of literature with a big story about a person's life.
Yeah.
It was a poem.
I would
So
call
not,
that an epic.
yeah.
Think of the
So,
epics like that.
yeah. So that's I mean two big works like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And we still learn that nowadays. It's in the textbooks.
All
And
right.
they're considered the gems of the
Yes.
Vietnamese literature.
So is that a story about a king or the establishment of Vietnam? Is like a national story, or is it a story of a made-up hero?
Not exactly. It was, I mean, again, you can search for this one, but this one is the most popular, and that's a story of a woman, a beautiful woman,
Okay.
and who had she was born in a nice family, it's like a middle class family, good education, and she had a good life. But then tragedy happened when her father was arrested. But he was falsely accused of something, and then he was arrested, and everything was taken from her, and she had to witness her family broken in front of her eyes. And the only thing that she could do to help her family was to sacrifice herself,
Yes.
and to give herself away.
Yeah.
And then that was the stories about many years later in her life. And she became a prostitute. She was cheated on. She was treated badly by many people until eventually she met the man of her life, somebody who took care of her, and then, bring her back to the normal life that she deserved. That kind of things.
Great story.
That's a great story. And we learned it in textbook, and even nowadays there's still many studies about that story, and then how it means, and all the cultural aspects of the story, the Chinese influence on the story, what's so Chinese, what's so Vietnamese about that story, and that's so interesting. And yeah,
Okay.
and it's a thick book.
Okay. So I'm guessing from that the Vietnamese language hasn't changed that much over the centuries, that you're able to read it more or less as contemporary language.
From that time on, I think in terms of like the pronunciation and the meaning of the words, it doesn't change much. What really changed for us was the alphabet. Because as I said before, we never had the Latin alphabet before the French colony time. Before that, we used as I said before, our own alphabet based on the Chinese characters. But when the French came along, they did not give us the Latin alphabet. Somebody else did, a Portuguese guy.
Okay.
So it has a lot to do with religion.
Yes.
So he came on a mission.
Yes.
And then he liked to spread Christianity and get more followers in Vietnam. And in a way, that's one way of gaining more power over people. And that's what the European did
Mm.
wherever they went, like in Latin America, for example, and did the same thing in Vietnam. And they realized that without a Latin alphabet, that was difficult for the missionaries, and they
Yeah.
were thinking about one way to make it more popular, or they can teach people to
Yes.
read the Bible, for example. So they brought in the Latin alphabet. And
Yeah.
there was that particular guy, his name is Alexander Road. You
Oh,
can Google him, Alexander Road. He took his time, because later on, when I worked as a linguist, and I looked at all the documentation kind of research, and okay, that's a big piece of work,
yeah.
because you had to see enough people and listen enough to know how many sounds that language
Yes.
does have, and
Yeah.
then figure out a way to match that sounds with a
Yes.
letter, and finally give us the alphabet. That's very difficult. It's not an easy
Yes.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I happen to have some friends, back in my PhD day, I had some friends who did work at the small islands, small Pacific
Oh,
islands, in
yeah.
Vanuatu, for example.
All right.
And there was a group of people there. The group of people just got smaller and smaller and smaller, and they didn't have written language.
Yeah.
And some of my friends, they went there. They lived there for a long time with the local people, and they had to do their work. It's a documentation work.
Yeah.
Enough of speech recorded to listen again and again and again, and to figure out how many sounds that language has,
Yeah.
and then give it an alphabet.
That is a remarkable. That's
Yes.
that's
Yes. So back in the day, we had that person who did that.
yes.
And then we eventually had the alphabet
Yeah.
as we know today. And
Yeah.
and because of him, my name is very confusing, because as you can yeah, it starts with a D,
Yes.
but it sounds like zip,
Yes. Yes.
because of that guy. I blame him.
Yeah, absolutely. What a jerk.
But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and even now it's so interesting. It's so interesting.
Well,
There
what?
is still a debate in Vietnam
Mm.
that is that guy a friend or a foe?
Well,
Is he a hero or a villain?
colonizer. Yes,
Because
we get that.
there's
Yeah. Yeah.
always that debate. And I don't know, there used to be a road named after him.
Yeah.
But then I thought it was changed. I haven't I haven't read into it. I know particularly there was a road named after him, but then it wasn't anymore. That's what I believe.
Yeah. Well, Australia being a post-colonial society, there are similar debates going
Yes.
on. But my initial reaction when you told me that is, once you've got that shared language, it means Vietnamese stories can be translated into Western languages. And
Yeah.
likewise, the fiction, the literature of Western languages can be translated into
Hmm.
and become accessible to
Yes.
Vietnamese people. So
Yes.
you are part of the international literary
Yes.
community.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
open door, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Now, one of the things is undeniable that when the French came,
Yeah.
of course, like they did horrible things to our
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
but at the same time, they opened the door to the world, to us. Literature,
Yeah.
uh, technology,
Yeah. Yeah.
hygiene,
Yes.
manners. Like there's so many things that they brought to us as well.
All right. Okay. Moving on specifically on to Moon Boy, because
Yes.
we're going to talk more about the fairy tales generally. Okay. So have we still got the problems there of no history to that particular story?
That story have been told for a long, 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 long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can track down where it started.
No.
Yeah.
No. Somewhere there, somebody, yeah.
No, somebody, I mean, I asked AI. AI doesn't know.
Oh,
So that means,
okay. Well, then
so
we
that's
just rely
a
on,
sign that AI doesn't know everything. But that also means maybe I have to go into a library, for example, where they read some real piece of work to know, where it actually
well,
came from.
yes, yes, okay. So repeating the same questions I asked about First Mosquito, have there been any adaptations of the Moon Boy story?
All right. Contrary to the mosquito story, you might be surprised at how popular the Moon Boy story is. Very popular, an influential story in Vietnam.
Because he's such a bad boy? Do people find that
Um,
entertaining?
no, people don't think of him as a bad boy at all.
Okay.
Oh, he is actually a positive character in the Vietnamese culture.
Would you want to teach a boy like that? Would you want to have somebody like that in your class?
Um,
He lies
well,
to
he was,
people. Uh, yeah, okay.
oh, he was, yeah. Oh, let's just, maybe we can check. We can double check the content of the story because sometimes, the meaning is lost in translation.
Okay. Yeah, well,
So
clearly. No, I mean,
is that
writing. Yeah, so why is he so, rather than me putting words in your mouth, why would you say he is so popular?
um the main reason is he he sits on the moon, and the moon is very important to Vietnamese people, to farmers in particular, because back in the day our ancestors were farmers.
Yeah,
And somebody created that story because they wanted to explain why you saw some shadows, some little dark lines on the moon.
yeah, yeah,
So they came up with that story of a boy in
yes.
there, and then say, why is the boy there? And then, so that's the story of a boy who, he was naughty in the beginning of the story. He killed the little tigers.
Yeah, and he's
Did
lying.
you?
Was it his aunt and his uncle? He was telling them that the opposite one had died, and he's causing all this grief and tragedy, and then he just laughs it all off.
Oh, so I think we're thinking about two different stories.
But no, I suspect that that's the sort of story where a whole lot of different adventures and trickery and pranks can be added or not added as you're telling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
But
was,
the bottom line is the banyan tree, and
yes.
then he took the leaves from that to save people.
Okay. So why, so is it a transformation story? Has he gone from being, um, both as a human, he's transformed from being naughty boy to good boy, and then once he's a good boy, he becomes the hero and goes to the moon. So transformed from human to celestial.
Yeah, there was a little bit of transformation in the beginning because he saw the little tigers, the baby tigers, and he killed them.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I might.
Yes.
Like I said,
And
versions. Yeah.
yes. And then the tiger mom came back and she was so upset about it. And then she took the leaves from a particular tree, and then fed that to her little tigers, and they all came alive again.
Which is three snake leaves again. We've got another resurrection thing,
All right.
and this
Yeah.
one is from leaves. Yeah.
Yeah. So the moon boy, he knew that, so he chopped down the tree and took it home with him.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, that part was tricky. So I think he wasn't supposed to do that. But then he but then he realized that there's something some good deeds he could do with those trees. So he stole the tree, he chopped it off with some good intentions in his mind. And ever since then, he used the leaves to help people,
Okay. So
to usually to bring dead people back to life.
right. Okay. So there's a bit missing actually.
Mhm.
But like the major moral transformation to turn it from a thief and a destroyer into a vessel of life. And the missing part is why? Why would he change?
Because I think it's you know, he just was aware there was the nice thing to see, like, dead people coming back to life. So that's magic. And as you say, go back to the point you had before about power. It's gonna give you some sense of power that you can bring people back to life, and everywhere you go, you are known for that particular ability.
Which sort of moves him from being a stock character, a representative character, to actually having some psychological depth. You know, that sort of,
that's my interpretation, to be honest. But I think, like a boy, I was thinking it must be cool. I'm so cool. I can bring people back to life.
I'd agree. Okay, and the thing is, aren't banyan trees representative of knowledge and of wisdom and of community? Don't communities gather round the banyan tree to tell stories?
Yes, it has a lot of meaning in our life, because the banyan trees are very popular in the countryside. So every village in the countryside of Vietnam, particularly in the north of Vietnam, in the north, not the south, in the north. So the south, the landscape would be characterized by coconut trees.
Right.
Lots of coconut trees, but in the north, banyan tree. And every village would have a banyan tree.
Yes.
At least one. And they might have many, but there would be at least one at the gate of the village. So, like, if you travel far away, for example, and then you come back to your village, the first thing you see from afar is a banyan tree. I mean, when people see that, they know that, oh, it is my village. I'm close to home. So, you know, that picture, or even just the word of that, it represents home, my homeland, my home village.
Oh my God. Oh wow. I'm so glad it's mentioned. So that story of him that being held on to the banyan tree, and it's the banyan tree that is flinging him into the moon, that's an expulsion. He's exiled from home, and he's exiled by home. So that's a really strong.
Yes, he's away from home. He's away from home. And there are, after that stories, there are many like songs and poems about that boy.
Of course there would be. Oh,
and
so much better now.
Yes, and I think part of the reason why he held on to it, when it started flying to the sky, was because it meant so much to people in Vietnam in general. And also, it wasn't just any banyan tree, it was the magic one.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a story of an immigrant, because any immigrant flung out, like every Vietnamese Australian, is holding on to a banyan tree inside them as they are in, you know, this land as distant as the moon. And
that's a very good point that I never thought about. But, you know, you can think about it that way, that extended, because, you know, the meaning can be interpreted in many ways. But the banyan tree is like a second home to any villager, because back in the day, everything can happen under the banyan tree's shadow. People meet there for performances, like singing and dancing, or the, you know, traditional kind of theater that we had in Vietnam, outdoors under the banyan tree. We never had a theater. So that under the banyan tree, it can even be a marketplace. Or the people just bring their eggs and chicken and vegetable and just sit down there, and it's the marketplace.
Yeah. But the other thing I'm wondering about, it's like a portal to the other world. Like if anything can happen there and it's a magic place under the shadow, that kind of echoes European stories of having the underworld and, you know, a waterway or the fairy realm underneath the mound and that sort of thing that carry you to another realm. That the banyan tree, the shadow of the banyan tree, has that same ability to transform where you are.
Not in Vietnamese tale.
No.
So a portal or time travel is never, it's not a thing in Vietnamese tale.
No, but it's reversing that idea because it's still a way of traveling. Like because he's under the banyan tree, he's going to the moon, which is another world. So it's not a physical way, a portal, but it's where transformation or distance or and I'll play with that. It's an idea. It's a thought. Okay. Okay, so when we're talking about the religious or spiritual meanings there, the moon and the banyan tree have all those strong significance. And is it connected with a festival? So is it like the Autumn Moon Festival? Is that with this story?
Yes, he's very big. He's a very big character. One of the most important characters in the Mid-Autumn Festival.
I'm so glad we're doing it. That's partly why I chose these stories now, because I mean it's still middle of summer, but when is it? Mid-February we've got well, Chinese New Year or Asian New Year. And so you've got a lot of those moon festivals and so on starting then.
So the Mid-Autumn Festival is a big thing in Vietnam. Look, as it is in many other Asian countries.
Yes.
But if you think about it, each country will have a character that represents it.
Yes. Yeah.
In the Chinese culture, there is that beautiful woman.
Yes.
Now she's and she has a little
rabbit,
you know, jaded rabbit with her.
Yeah.
We also have the same character in our culture.
Yes.
But also that moon boy. They are a big part of it.
Okay. So are there foods there? Mooncakes, is that part of Vietnamese culture?
Yes, yes.
Lovely.
We eat a lot of mooncake. I miss it. I really miss it when I'm away.
I'm going to have to do something about that. Sure. I mean, you're in Singapore. Surely you've got mooncakes available in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you might want to know this. In Mid-Autumn Festival, it's for children mainly. And there are many songs, many children's songs about that moon boy.
There would be,
And there was one or two questions that are repeated in those stories or poems.
Yeah.
It's moon boy, are you lonely there? Moon boy, do you miss home?
It's the story of exile and of immigration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like somebody who left home and have to live there. And the point is, he's on the moon and he can look down on Earth every single day. And so what's happening there? Do you miss home? Are you lonely?
Oh, wow. See, I was saying this, the other story is being much more emotional, and this one is a much more superficial story, but you just transformed it for me. And I'm saying that this is a real story of the heart, of who you are and where you are.
So every Mid-Autumn Festival, there will be performances. You know, like, you know, at Christmas, there'll be nativity play and things like that. There will be the same thing. There are the same things in Vietnam also. And in the play or any songs, any other performances, most of the time, there will be that character. And we believe, it's not written in any story, but we believe that during Mid-Autumn Festival, that's the only chance for him to come back down to Earth and be with us.
Yes, what's the story with the separated lovers across the bridge with the in the stars,
Yes.
and that sort of thing, that there's just that moment.
Yes, but it's not in any official story. It's not an official story. It's just in people's imagination. And like or people just like to celebrate with him. Say, okay, you come back here for a week and then go back to the moon.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. So, I was going to ask you about, is this a teaching story? Is it a moral story, or, I mean, I think it is a coming of age story in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is a kind of a coming of age story because he grew up.
Yeah.
After that incident when he killed the tiger and then stole the tree, he grew up. And all of the years when he grew up, all he did was to help people.
Yes.
And that's how he got his wife.
Right.
Because she was one of the person that, he revived.
Hold on, I missed that bit. So he's doing exactly what our mosquito husband did.
Yes.
Yes.
But for him, he wasn't married to the girl.
No.
He knew that, a rich man's daughters just died, and like, who can help? And then he came to help, and then to thank him, the rich man, gave him the hand of his daughter.
Right. Yeah. That's a much better version than the ones I've found online, because that's got a big character arc. He's like Aladdin, who started off as such a rough boy, the most worthless, and then by pretending to be noble, he became.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in my version, it's like he just helped people. And he helped that family, he got his wife. But his wife is so forgetful. That's probably because she was born in a rich family. She was not used to looking after people. And she didn't know.
She's been dead, Zip. Give her a break. You forget a lot of things if you're going to die.
And then, like, when he was outside one day, and he said, can you look after the tree and use the best water, the purest water from the well to water the tree?
Yeah.
And then she was so forgetful, she didn't remember it. And then she used the dirty water to water the tree. I mean, not dirty, but water from the pond, that's to water the tree. And then, as he was told before, if he didn't take good care of the tree and if he didn't water it with the purest water that he had, the tree would fly to the sky. I think it's symbolic in a way that you can think about it as a gift from Mother Nature. And if you don't look after it, Mother Nature will take it back. And then the tree flew to the sky, and then he saw that and he had to come back and try to bring the tree back, but the tree wouldn't come back. It left. It flew to the moon with him.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing that as your gift of creativity too, that you need to look after whatever gift you have. And if you don't, you will lose it. But if you lose that, you lose your soul. You lose who you are. But if you follow it, you can't be part of ordinary life anymore.
Yeah. So that's that's the dilemma that I think it's still the dilemma that still speaks to us these days.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Loving that. Okay. What is it? So no, I'm gonna leave out the women. Well, talking about the women being villains, I mean, death by stupidity. Okay. Here's the power. I think we can go there. Okay. So I think you've already answered that. We've talked about how meaningful this story would be for people who are exiled or immigrants in some way, that they are on the outside.
Yeah, that one definitely.
Yeah. And it is in some way a story about hope, but we know that hope will never, like, we're hoping that Moon Boy can return, but we know he will. So we've got that.
But it can be the love for your homeland.
Yes.
Because in that story, the Moon Boy always, he always missed his home. and
Yes.
he's alone and always looking down.
Yeah. Okay. I believe out. Does the story end happily ever after? Uh, tragedy.
It's not,
Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah. Okay. So let's go. So, was there anything else you wanted to say about that? Before I go on to asking you about Vietnamese fairy tales generally, have
Mm,
we covered the things that you wanted to communicate about First Mosquito and Moon Boy?
no, I think, yeah, we cover pretty much
Yeah.
all I know about the stories.
Okay, that's good. The other thing I was going to say, and maybe we have covered it, is that
Mhm.
I find it very interesting that these stories finish with the enchantment, like
Mhm.
and in contrast to European fairy tales that have the enchantment before the story began, and
Yeah,
you are redeemed, you are
yeah,
disenchanted,
all
and
right.
the Vietnamese fairy tales finish with enchantment isn't disenchantment isn't going to
Yeah,
happen.
all right. That's a very good point.
Yeah, but it's intriguing. It sort of makes me want to think about, could you match up a European story as part B to a Vietnamese story as part A and give them, because it's always enormously frustrating. You think, why is he a hedgehog? Why is he a frog? Where does this come from? Why is this happening? But these are the stories that are saying precisely why they end
Yeah.
up in the moon or mosquito.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, about that. So there's one more point that I like to
yeah,
maybe to share at this point,
yeah,
because if you think about genre, I would say these two stories, they belong to the category of, how and why, pourquoi
pourquoi
stories.
stories, yes.
And you might be surprised to know that we have a lot of pourquoi stories in the Vietnamese culture, a lot of it. And our ancestors like to explain everything
Yeah,
from, Daisy, the origin of Daisy, the origin of lotus, lots of stories to explain the origin of trees
mm,
and animals and maybe natural phenomena.
yes,
Because I think, our ancestors were farmers.
yeah,
Back in the day, they lived in the village. So nature was a big part of their life. And
yes,
they tried to use their wisdom and imagination to explain everything. There are many high and wise stories in uh, in the Vietnamese folk tales.
yeah. And I mean, it's beautiful, but it's also, if I think too much about it, the answer to all their questions of how and why things come up, well, they it all explains about why everything is so terrible now, and everything that we see around us is the result of a tragic misunderstanding or a wrong choice, and that's over. Well, that's the next question: are these stories that end up with an enchantment? Isn't misfortune the sort of random tragedy of being human, or is it a
Mhm.
punishment from the gods for wrongdoing? Is it deserved?
It can be both.
Yeah,
It can be both. So there are some stories when, some magic happened at the end to someone who uh, had been very kind and honest their whole life, and
yeah,
then they will have a reward. But in some other stories, the magic was actually a punishment for people who didn't behave very well and was
yeah.
very cruel to other people.
Okay. Because so that means that these stories have a lot more of a teaching element to them.
Yes, so I would say in every Vietnamese folk tale, there is some teaching element there. There's a morals lesson
Yes.
to learn from that. And as children, uh, what we were taught, like I was told many stories by my grandparents, particularly my grandfather, and then he would tell me what's the lesson should be.
Right.
So I kind of had a mindset, a fixed mindset when I was very small that, okay, this is the lesson that I should learn from this story. That was good, but like not good.
Yeah.
In a way that, you know, I had a very fixed mindset and it was narrow in a sense. But, you know, the good thing is later when I grew up, I was older and I had more knowledge. I kind of looked at things in different ways. So the I think the traditional way of telling stories in Vietnam, particularly at school, it is still to tell the story and ask the children, what's the lesson you should learn from this story? And there are usually just one or two correct answers. And like children were not encouraged to, you know, to have their own thinking and to tell the truth about what they learned from the story.
Yes, different from a lot of Australian schools. Yeah. Yes, personally, I like people of whatever age to take from a story what they will take from a story.
Yeah.
So many meanings.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you've noticed about Vietnamese fairy tales that you think makes them distinctive? What makes Vietnamese fairy tales different from any others?
Okay. All right. Can I just plug in my computer before I answer that because I'm almost out of battery.
And I will let you free very shortly because I have been talking for a long time and I know you must be tired, but
Oh no, that's okay. It's a very interesting discussion. I would all right. I joined Feast in 2022.
Yes.
And for my debut performance, I told a Vietnamese folk tales.
Yeah.
And for many other performances afterwards, I always prioritize Vietnamese folk tales.
Yes.
And for the Singaporean Storytelling Festival also.
Yeah.
And the feedback that I often had was, why did I never hear these stories ever?
Yeah.
Like, where were those stories?
Yes.
And they said they were very good stories. Why did I never hear about them? And I think there wasn't enough work in bringing Vietnamese tale to the world and let people know more about it.
Yes.
And I think, though I usually chose a story that has big meaning.
Of course, yeah.
But so I think what made Vietnamese stories distinctive is the creativity and the love that people had for nature.
Yes.
It's nature, family, neighbors.
Yes.
So they're very much relationship stories.
Yes.
And we don't have adventure. We don't have treasure hunt.
No.
But most of our stories are about family, about village life, about husband and wife, neighbors to neighbors, and father and son and daughter, and you know, just like that. Because I think back in the day, like our world, our ancestors' world was quite limited.
Yes.
And that's all they knew as farmers.
Yeah.
But they were really smart in a way that they created many stories
Yes.
in that limited space.
Yeah.
There were so many stories, and it's just husband and wife, but there were so many stories about husband and wife, and or the like about natural disaster, for example. Yeah, you might know that there are many floods in Vietnam every single year, and there was a great story to explain that.
Yes.
And I had never ever seen it flood explained in a more interesting way.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah, that's the first story I told for as my debut performance in Feast. And you know, they other stories about, you know, love and lies, being unfaithful, but in a different level. It's not the mosquito, but a different level, that it had the whole country at stake.
Yes. Yeah, I hear.
So yeah, I think yeah, I haven't thought too much about it, but I think that's the thing that made it so distinctive. I told a story about a boy and his grandmother. We also have many stories about grandmother and grandfather.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think it might be a thing in Asia that many kids grow up with their grandparents more than their parents. So that is one kind of relationship that was reflected in many fairy tales.
Okay, so this year, your project is to become the collector of the Vietnamese fairy tales, and you are going to become the Willem and Jacob Grimm of Vietnam. I want you to write down all the stories you can remember and start researching and collecting them from other people and looking at the different variants there. And then your name will be on the book and people will be studying you and the world will be a better place because of you.
That would be great. Thank you. That would be great. But seriously,
No,
if
why shouldn't it be you, Dr. Diep Tran? Why shouldn't you do it? It's a good project. Get them because you will have so much fun.
Yes, no, I know I will have. And it's a long-term project for me too, to tell my kids' story, because I want them to know the Vietnamese culture as well, and through stories. There's something I wanted to tell you, but I forgot. Anyway, if there's any chance for me to have a talk or a short presentation about some particular features of Vietnamese folktales, please let me know. I'll be happy to do that.
You already have, my darling. So we're going to record this. I'm going to put it onto the Australian Fairy Tale Society YouTube channel so that people can use that to get their understanding of these stories. We also have online fairy tale rings where we get together and we discuss the stories. So I'm going to send you the link for that.
Yes.
You can join in with that conversation.
Yes.
And you know, like there'll be conferences there's a conference coming up in 2026. So I mean, you're always welcome to visit Australia. We'd love to have you.
So it's on site, it's face to face.
It would be, but it's always worthwhile asking questions because you never know what's possible, whether you could do something that was online. But it's always better to share space because that's when you really become community.
Yeah, I would love to. But a trip to Australia is a bit too far for me, but I would love to.
We can go Australia to Singapore, Singapore to Australia, easy peasy, and you can come and you can celebrate. You can teach us your wisdom, and that would be a lovely thing.
That would be great. That would be great. Okay.
And if you're interested in doing anything about fairy tales as it relates to Vietnam and do something like we have the Australian Fairy Tale Society, if you want to launch a Vietnamese Fairy Tale Society and start, you know, getting people together to discuss the meanings and the history of the story, if you want to bounce ideas around for that,
all right.
they're on your side.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, that sounds very good. Thank you. All
I
right.
know
So I
you've
guess,
got a lot to do, but thank you very, very much indeed. Much appreciated.
yeah, 2026 starts off very well for me.
Excellent.
No,
Excellent.
I really enjoy every minute of this discussion.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm really glad because it's just been a joy and a treasure. So thank
Yeah.
you very much indeed. I'm going to say
All
goodbye,
right.
but stay in contact because it'll be lovely.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Please send me the Zoom link. I hope I can join. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay, all the
All
best,
right.
mate. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night. Bye.